Oh, yeah.
The good Reverend
stop.
educating?
Yeah, he emailed me, I emailed him.
All right. Good morning and welcome. It is Tuesday, August the 4th. It is 9 a.m., which means it's time for the Madera County Board of Supervisors meeting. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Council, do we have any additions to the agenda?
Chair, there are no additions to your agenda today.
Excellent. Can you please read our closed session items into the record?
Yes, thank you. Your standing conference with labor negotiators is on the agenda under Government Code Section 54957.6. Your agency designated representatives are your Assistant County Administrative Officer, your Director of Human Resources, and your Human Resources Manager to discuss all employee organizations, all units, and unrepresented employees, but not elected officials. There are two existing litigation matters under Government Code 54956.9, subsection D1. These are Madera Superior Court cases. One, the plaintiffs are Cardoza with several other plaintiffs versus the Madera County Groundwater Sustainability Agencies and the Valley Groundwater Coalition versus the County of Madera. The last is a conference with your real property negotiators under Government Code Section 54956.8. The property is county property at 328 South Madera Avenue, Madera, California. The negotiator on your behalf is your county administrative officer, and under negotiations is price and terms for the sale, exchange, or lease of that property. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Do we have any public comment on the closed session items, either in the room or online?
None online.
Seeing no public comment, we will retire into closed session. All right, it is just after 10, which means it's time for our regular session of the Madera County Board of Supervisors meeting. Council, do we have any reportable action out of closed session?
Chair, there are no reportable actions from your closed session. However, there is a request to, yes, return to closed session to finish the items. Thank you.
Perfect. At this time, I'll look to my colleagues for anybody they'd like to open and close the meeting in memory of.
I do have one person.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to open and close in memory of Leona Pistoresi. I was informed by staff this morning that Leona passed away, and Leona was a very vivacious lady, very kind-hearted, loving, a great contributor to this community. That entire family, their history is absolutely.
Here in 1949, and he opened up Morgan's Bar here in 1949, and he opened up Morgan's Barbershop. And so Morgan's was around until a few years ago. Gary stopped cutting hair long before that, but he also farmed. He and his wife ran James Department Store for a while. His wife was from the Russell family, very large, and a lot of members of that family in our community. But more than that, Gary's just a great guy. Everybody, I don't know of anybody that has an unkind word about Gary. He's always a very engaging and just a wonderful individual. So I'd like to remember him today. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. And I would like to open and close in memory of Barbara Green. I got to know the Green family as a chief of staff for Supervisor Wheeler. They lived next to the transfer station out in Norfolk and had some issues out there, and really got to know them very well over the last 7 years. And Barb passed away last week. She was 88. Just a wonderful woman, always had a beautiful smile on her face, and she will certainly be missed. So unless there's anybody else we would like to remember, at this time, I'd like to invite up Pastor Roger Leach with Valley West Christian Center to lead us in the invocation, and I'd ask my friend Justin McComb to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you so much, Chairman. I was remembering Gary. I think he gave me one of my first haircuts and in my son's first haircut a long time ago. Yes. And I was just looking at, you have on your desk the Mammoth report from, you'll be getting a little bit later on about the orange. And I was talking to Karen beforehand, and we were talking about, I remember when I got a hamburger at the old Mammoth Orange on 99, but I wasn't around to see the mammoths, you know, and so I'm a little younger than they are. That was in the backyard, yeah. This morning, let us pray. Our Father, I thank you that the Word of God says in Proverbs chapter number 1, it says, to know wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealings, in righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. We thank you, Lord, that today that we will make decisions that are beneficial to the county of Madera. We thank you for these men and women as they sacrifice of their life to be servants of Madera County. We thank you for their wisdom. We thank you for their understanding. We ask your blessing upon our county. We ask your blessing upon this meeting today, and we ask that in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So our next item of business is public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record. Do we have any public comment today? If you have public comment, please step up to the podium, just in line there.
Simon
Morning.
Fall, Health Officer, Chair, members of the board. I just want to give 3 very quick updates from Public Health Department. The first is about a week or 2 ago, we announced that it was this year's first human case of West Nile virus was diagnosed. Mosquito and vector control do an amazing job of tracking West Nile virus. And this year they're seeing mosquitoes infected appearing earlier and increasing much faster than in prior years. So on their website and ours, there's this information for people who want to protect themselves. Please try and both use mosquito repellent if you're outdoors, and for controlling mosquitoes, getting rid of standing water is really important. Common sources are pet dishes outdoors that have water in them, and the dishes under flower pots, container gardens often have water. Not saying to take away his water bowl, just clean it every couple of days because it's very hot out. The second update is cyclosporiasis. There are no cases in Madera County. That outbreak is in the Midwest and other areas, but has not come to California yet. A week or 2 ago, I think there are rumors going around Madera that there may be cases here. There are not, and our disease investigators were actually able to track down the source of the rumor. Somebody was talking about gastroenteritis, and the person listening to them thought they were talking about cyclosporiasis, which again, we have no cases of. And the third thing is just a quick update from the news release on Sunday about the people from Arizona that we're monitoring closely because they may have been exposed there for measles. To date, there's nobody with symptoms. There are no cases. And if people are wondering what if somebody didn't tell you if they had symptoms, we actually also monitor for measles in the wastewater in Madera, and there's no signal for there as well. So that is going well. So those are my updates. Happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning. My name is Josh Miranda. I was here to, I tried to get it put on the agenda, but sure it didn't get put on the agenda. I am the man who had a guardrail put up on his property in Oakhurst. In front of my property, it's blocking 90% of my road access to my property and where I've been parking my vehicles for the last 14 years. There's a lot of alternatives to this massive guardrail blocking my whole property. It's 85 feet in length. I mean, I have pictures. I was trying to get it put on the agenda. I don't know if anybody's seen it or if anybody would like to see pictures of it. But there's alternatives to this, and I just wanted to bring it to you guys' attention that they are greatly impacting my day-to-day life with this guardrail blocking my property. My mother has mobility issues. My wife's grandmother lives with us, but she's in a rehab center right now. She can't move back with the guardrail the way it is. There's other options that we could do. When the county put forth to me the plans for what they were doing with the bridge, they had a sidewalk was planned, and I came home from work and there's a guardrail blocking most of my property. That's all I got.
Okay. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Yep. Good morning.
Good morning. Jacqueline Luna, Assistant County Clerk Recorder Registrar, just here with a little update. We are coming up to the close of candidate filing, which is this Friday, August 7th. So anyone who is interested in running for office, this Friday is that deadline. For offices where the incumbent fails to file, there will be a 5 calendar day extension. So that will go through next Wednesday for anyone else who wishes to file. So I just want to make sure people are aware of that deadline.
Excellent.
And you can go to votemadera.com, plenty of information on that website, including your appointment booking. So make sure you're booking those appointments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any additional public comment in the room or online?
None online?
Excellent. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion unless an item is pulled for further discussion by one of my colleagues. Do we have any items we'd like to pull this afternoon or morning?
I'd like to pull for discussion item 7H.
Excellent. Thank you. Do we have any other items we'd like to pull for further discussion? Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll start with 7H.
Okay. We have with us today Michelle Pacina, who's the president of the Fossils Discovery Center Board. Now, she'd like to say a few words.
Well, I'll address the consideration to submit on our property. We have the historical Mammoth Orange. As you know, that was moved off the highway, so it cannot be a historical point of interest. I mean, a historical point. It has a site. It has to be a historical point of interest because it was moved. But the Rotaries of Chowchilla and Madera gave a great deal of assistance in making that an authentic, can be, hopefully, historic point of interest. So we're grateful it's on the agenda, and I believe you vote after this?
Yes.
Is that how you do that?
Right.
Okay, well, I just certainly hope you consider it, because it is truly a part of the history of Madera County. I wanted to also address you today as an update from our museum. I am the director there. I have in front of you, as was mentioned by the minister that gave our opening prayer, a commemorative newspaper from last year, our 15th anniversary. On the back, it gives a total update of our center and what we do right on the total back page. But it's a very interesting piece that was published when this discovery was made. And some of you may be new to the area or haven't heard about it that much, what happened in 1993. But that gives a really good historical background. So it's very important also to Madera County. I also included a promotional folder that we recently put together. I'm just going to briefly highlight. We have a welcoming letter. Behind that, we have how businesses and others in the community can become a sponsor with becoming a Bronze Tusk, Silver Tusk, or Gold Tusk member. Then we have in the front of the little brochures one on what we really do. We do a lot of field trips for the Central Valley. We have about 10,000 plus children come through the school year. And it's been very, very valuable to those children who attend. Of course, the public is welcome Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 10 to 4. We put together a really good brochure about how do I talk to my kids about fossils, and an opening brochure, and our card that gives a discount. So that's what we're using now as our promotional folder, and we'll also give you personally more information on what we're about. Our organization belongs to GFAMES, Greater Fresno Area Museum and Educational Sites. And I would consider us, out of all of those listed, which 100 so or plus, that we're in the top 5 in the Central Valley, without a doubt. And they would concur as a group. So for purposes of tourism, I think this is huge, especially with the new casino going in, and we're very close, and which I will now mention. The Native American tribes that we are working with are the Yokuts, headed by Jerry Brown. There's approximately 200 of them in Chowchilla, and we recently gave them a guided tour, and they were thrilled with their history being represented in our Native American display. We also have, for a number of years, a partnership with the Mono tribe in North Fork and their museum, and we share exhibits. So I consider us a very significant piece of Madera County, and I've always appreciated the support of David Rogers. You've consistently supported us, and we really do appreciate it. So at this time, I'd like to thank you all again and invite you, as I do every time I appear. You can have a meeting out there. You guys went up to Oakhurst. You can come out to your beautiful place here and a little closer. And that's all I have for this time. And again, just thank you for all of the support. It's wonderful for the children of the Valley, for sure. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Michelle does a great job for that center. Also want to mention that we are working with Caltrans on getting some facade dinosaur, or well, Pleistocene age
Right.
mammoths and
Similar to Merced.
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know about us, by the way. Caltrans neighboring didn't know about us, and it would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Because
I think that's going to happen too, according to the
wonderful.
District 6 director. So
Oh, wonderful.
we know him well, and he's pretty much in favor of it. We just need to work out the details
Right.
and get those up. So we'll have the same kind of facade that Merced has on several of their overpasses. We'll have the,
Just better, right?
yeah.
Yes.
It'll be kind of
Yes.
neat. Bigger and better.
Yeah.
We'll do ours bigger and better.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all your work with the museum. Really appreciate it. So if it pleases the supervisor, we'll include this in the consent in
Yes.
one vote?
Yes.
Okay, unless there's any other comments or questions in regards to the consent calendar, we're going to look to the public for any public comment they may have on the consent calendar.
None online?
Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Portress?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Aye.
Chair McCauley?
Yes,
Vote passes 4-0.
thank you for that. Let's go ahead and move on to item 8A, please.
County Clerk Recorder Register of Voters, second reading to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 2.09 of Title II of the Madera County Code relating to the requirement of assessors' parcel numbers on the first page of deeds, quitclaim deeds, mortgages, deeds of trust, presented for recording as authorized by Senate Bill 255 and Government Code Section 27297.7.
Good morning again.
Good morning. This is the second hearing to codify the requirement for APNs to be listed on our documents submitted for recording. This is for our program to send a written notification of documents submitted for recording to the current property owners at the addresses on file with the county assessor. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Excellent. Any questions, comments?
Thank you for the excellent job you're doing.
No problem.
Okay, seeing none, we'll look to the public for any public comment they may have, in the room or online.
None online?
Okay, seeing none, let's bring it back for action.
Move to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Portress?
Aye.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Aye.
Chair McCauley?
Yes,
Vote passes 4-0.
thank you. Let's go to item 8B.
Thank you very much.
Fire Department, Cooperative Fire Programs, Fire Protection Reimbursement, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution approving fire protection agreement by and with the County of Madera and the State of California Cooperative Agreement Number 4CA07748. Discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with California Department of Forestry and Fire Protections, State Agreement Number 4CA07748 in the amount of $15,136,657 for fire protection and medical and rescue responses, dispatch services, staffing, and extended fire protection services for fiscal year 2026, 2027, and authorize the chair to sign.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. Larry Pendarvis, CAL FIRE Assistant Chief and your Madera County Fire Chief. I'm before you today with a presentation to adopt a resolution for a scheduling agreement with California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, known as CAL FIRE, and Madera County. This agreement would be from the 2026-2027 fiscal year. Did this come up? Okay, the first slide on the presentation gives you a rundown of the cost of the agreement would be for $15,136,657. That is $183,623 less than our 25-26 fiscal year. Before you, gives you a rundown of our stations and the positions that is encompassed in this agreement. Moving on, the 2025-26 agreement was forecasted at $15,320,280. We were able to provide a cost savings of just under $3 million, doing our best to be a good steward of the county dollar. Our Amador staffing was also considerably less than what was forecasted by $330,619, over 50% savings due to the fact that we went out of Amador staffing early and staffed up our stations.
Chief, can I just ask a quick question? I apologize for interrupting, but I think it's important for the public to understand that last part there in regards to the Amador savings. And I'm hopeful you can kind of clarify there. That didn't result in any reduction in staffing. That was just CAL FIRE shortening their season and staffing up or lengthening their season, I think more appropriately.
Staffing up early. That is a correct statement, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we'll go into that also with our, into Amador as far as having those stations in previous years due to our new staffing matrix, we will only be having 2 Amador stations this coming winter, and that will be both Ahwahnee and North Fork.
Excellent.
Bass Lake will be traditionally staffed, as well as a couple of our others. Moving on to the next slide, some of the benefits and advantages to the local government cooperator having these type of agreements. All-encompassing dispatching services, our overall fire department operations and emergency services, as well as legislation, our behavioral health and wellness, and our occupational health programs, our EEO programs, continue with our professional standards, and of course, our ongoing training. Before you now is a breakdown of our organizational chart, myself being on the top of the chart, broken down into our mechanics to the left, our administrative office staff, and then our 4 battalion chief positions and our stations underneath. This next slide depicts the breakdown from the CAL FIRE stations, which was, I like to put it at 5.5, and that has to do with our Station 11 up in North Fork, and I can elaborate on that if you wish. Our county stations would be the 8.5, the other 0.5 there. Madera County volunteer stations currently have 5 of those, and then we have our automatic aid agreement with Station 83 in Merced. This slide here depicts our breakdown of our initial attack areas for each of the stations in Madera County. This will give you an idea of the rundown of the call volume per stations. Obviously, our Station 1 over on Tozer still continues to be our highest call volume station. Station 3 was quite a bit less this last fiscal, and that was due to the closure, due to the that bullet train being in. That road's now open, and also with North Fork Casino opening up, that station will, call volume will grow exponentially, we forecast. I'd like to touch on Station 11 and how beneficial that has been to us in the county, with the county and state working together and having that staffed 24/7. Most recently, our Cascadel incident a week and a half ago, we were able to have a response time in about 3 minutes and 45 seconds by having that station fully staffed, and definitely saved what could have been a very devastating fire. It's kept that fire to less than an acre. So that relationship has really worked out to benefit both the county and the state, that working relationship. This slide here depicts the 2 Timberwolf engines that we did receive finally back in November of 2025. One is now fully outfitted and is in service up at Station 12. It's a Type 2 apparatus with also 4-wheel drive capabilities. Our second one we plan to put in service, continue outfitting and put in service right now, forecasted over into Cerro, which outlines the SRA boundaries there. We have 2 additional fire apparatus on order. One, when it arrives, will be placed at Riverstone, our new Station 6. When it comes into operation, second one will replace the first generation engines that we had that came in back in 2017 and 18. That engine will be now placed in reserve status. We've implemented tablet command within the last year, which has proven to be very beneficial to us as a department. Streamlines our situational awareness, speeds up incident response times. We are now connected with Starlink on these with this tablet command, so the connectivity is always there. Our interactive maps have also proven to be very beneficial. It has replaced the old and archaic MDT system that we did have in place for the last 12 years. Moving on to our training and our paid call firefighting program, we continue to really bolster up our training program, working both with the city, the state, and the county to provide ongoing training, live fire training, rope rescue, forcible entry, multi-company drill training. We were successful in graduating 18 new paid call firefighters in April of this year. to bolster our numbers up to 75 paid call firefighters. We continue to do paid call firefighter outreach throughout the community, from job fairs to high school career days, county fairs. So we continue to progress in our outreach. One thing that I took on is I did open up that avenue to the paid call firefighters to branch into EMS only or support roles as some of our PCFs are getting a little up there in age and for responding to fires. So I opened up that avenue to continue to be a part of the program and to help us out in support roles into EMS. I did have an ISO rating review conducted, and I'm happy to say that our ISO rating went down, and the lower it goes down, the better the rating is. So it's based on a public protection classification. We were at a 5X, the X meaning in the rural communities, and we have dropped to a 4X. Insurance companies do also use the fire hazard severity zone mapping. However, this ISO rating is an important rating. And my goal is, through my tenure with working with Madera County, is to get us down to a 3. And I think with working with Tristan and our grant writing team, looking into the possibility of what we were able to model up in Mariposa with those 250-gallon storage water tanks on county properties at lowered Mariposas, and I think it would be very beneficial in the eastern Madera Mountains if we're successful in that, and that is one of my undertakings that Tristan and I, along with one of my battalion chiefs, continue to look into that grant possibility. The next slide here does a pick where, and we did just make the cut because 60 was the break from the 5 down to the 4X. So, but like I said, it is my goal to continue to lower our ISO rating, and I will continue to work diligently on making that happen. That concludes my presentation. I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Chief. I'll look to my colleagues for any comments, questions. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you for the report, and excellent to see that ISO rating go down. That's a key indicator of the coverage, and it's really important. In that Station 1, we have overlapping MOUs with Firebaugh and Fresno, and I think that's it, isn't it?
North Central.
North Central. And is that effective in covering those areas where the population are?
Oh, it's been very beneficial to have that, and they do get stretched thin. Station 1 does get stretched thin, and I'm working with the CAO and also with my counterpart, Chief McComb, at different avenues as far as station.
I knew the
development.
answer to that before I asked it, but I want the public to hear that.
Yeah.
The level of calls in that area, do you have a pinpoint as to where the majority of those calls are coming from?
For Station 1?
Yes.
Well, Station 1 also responds into the city, and it is reciprocal. The city responds and assists us. So,
So Station
now
1
that
is...
the city has annexed that property out there, our Station 1 is going into the city more frequently than it has in years past.
So that's been probably a majority of your calls.
I'd say a great portion of them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a majority, but a great portion, yes.
I'm grateful for the MOUs we have surrounding District 2. It would be ideally, it'd be nice to have a station in the center of that whole district. But funds are not there right now to do that. Eventually, I mean, we've been talking with some circumstances on that, but at this time, the MOUs are helping support what's going on in those outer areas and taking care of the situation pretty well, I think. Is that your assessment as well?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that that agreement with Merced City and having that Station 83, that automatic aid agreement has also helped us exponentially out in your area, sir.
Yeah, I didn't like it that they moved Station 3 into District 5 instead of District 2, but it's only, what, a block or something like that?
Yeah.
It's a block away. Somebody tried to say there are no paid firefighters in District 2, and I said, that's just not true.
That's not
Just
true.
because you move the line doesn't mean there are not paid firefighters in District 2.
Absolutely
There
correct.
are a lot of them. When we have Station 5, of course, which responds very amicably in many situations. In fact, I've seen Station 5 in action 3 or 4 times in my tenure, so it's kind of interesting that I would have that visual of them responding, and they've done very well.
Yes, we lean on CCWF quite frequently, and they have been a fantastic asset in assisting us.
One of my concerns for that station is that I understand they limit the caloric intake of the inmates in general, and they're not getting enough for their training and their response. Maybe a letter on our behalf to them to consider those inmates that work with Station 5 should be getting adequate caloric intake for their vigorous activities on behalf of the constituency. What do you think?
Supervisor, I agree with you, and I did provide some figures for, I believe,
Matt Skolnick?
Yes,
Yeah.
I gave him those, and they were successful in doing that. I do have a good friend who does work down at North Kern, and they were able to provide that for NKSP.
Oh, good.
So that avenue is possible, and I can continue to work with him to see what avenues we can pursue to make that
Yeah,
happen.
coming from you, it mean more than even
Absolutely.
from me.
No,
So
I'm more than
that's
happy to help with that.
fantastic, and I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Excellent. Any other comments, questions from my colleagues?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. So once again, proud to vote for this cooperative agreement. I think the value that we get, and I say this every year, but the value that we get by partnering with CAL FIRE is unmatched when it comes to resources and surge capacities and all the different things that you guys bring to the table. So, and I'm shocked that over $3 million of savings as well. So, and due to the chairman's point about not a reduction in services, but working with the other stations to extend their season, things like that. So just very happy with you guys, very happy with the service you provide, and once again, longest standing contract in CAL FIRE history, right?
Coming up 100 years in 2028.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, I just like to echo my colleagues' remarks, and we have a great partnership. At my, when I attend RCRC meetings, rural county meetings, Sacramento every few months, sometimes different counties talk about their fire contracts and so forth, and usually they have their own fire department. And it's interesting, a lot of them have issues and problems and funding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the only counties who didn't have a comment or talk about issues, negative issues, were those who had contracted with CAL FIRE. So Merced, us, others, so we've had such great response. And so I guess it's like either pay me now or pay me later, right? As far as contractor with CAL FIRE. So great job, thank you.
Thank you. We're just very appreciative of the open door policy that I have with our CAO and working with us on a daily basis to achieve the goals that we need to achieve to be successful. So we thank you and the supervisors all.
Absolutely. I want to pull back real quick to your comments in regards to the Cascadel Fire, the partnership out there in North Fork that made that possible. I want to call out Chief McComb for all his work on getting that contract or that agreement with the state through. It's just amazing work, saving not only property but possibly lives. I also want to call out that, that wasn't the only fire over the last 2 weeks that, CAL FIRE was able to quickly respond to and keep under 10 acres, which, as you know, is the goal. We also had fires out in Cedar Valley as well as in Oakhurst that could have been very, very dangerous fires for the community. So I want to thank you for all your diligence in working to keep those fires small. I also want to thank this board for their commitment to fire response and recovery, as well as mitigation. It's programs like our vehicle replacement, our fire apparatus replacement program that ensure, our personnel in county fire have the tools they need to be successful. So thank you to the board. Most of all, thank you to CAL FIRE for all of the great work. So I have no additional comments. We got one more?
Yeah, one more comment.
Yeah.
Chief, would you say that that as far as apparatus, that we are at a historic high in our fleet at this point, as far as providing good equipment and adequate equipment?
Well, absolutely. Where the county was 10 years ago as opposed to where we are today, we have jumped by leaps and bounds, and our apparatus replacement program is also shown to be very beneficial.
Yeah. I knew the answer to that too, but again, I'm combating some negativity in a few individuals that think that we're not doing the job there. And I believe that as a supervisor for District 2 and all of our supervisors together, we have fought hard to make sure that public safety is #1 in Madera County, and fire protection is at an all-time high for the apparatus and the individuals that are serving this community. And I think I can say that without hesitation or reservation, and I'm very proud of that. So I take exception to anybody who would say otherwise. It is not true. Thank you.
Excellent. With that, we're going to look to the public for any public comment they may have, either in the room or online.
None online.
Okay. Seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve items 1 and 2.
Second.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Aye.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Aye.
Chair McCauley?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all.
All right, let's move to item 8C, please.
Public Works Department Engineering Services Division, Avenue 12 widening project. Discussion and consideration of entering into an amendment to Madera County Contract Number 13012-25 with Avison Construction, increasing cost by $1,004,716.62 for the Avenue 12 widening project between Road 29.5 and State Route 41, and authorize the chair to sign. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the auditor controller to issue payments for contingencies up to 10% of the amended contract amount per established policy, county policy. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Director of Public Works or his designee to solely issue and approve contract change orders in accordance with the Public Contract Code not to exceed authorized contingencies.
Good morning, Jared.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, and thank you, Clerk, for reading that in. Jared Carter with Director of Public Works. So this item before you is a contract amendment for our Avenue 12 expansion project. As you may recall, we awarded a contract to Avison Construction for a little over $14 million. That bid did come in about 50% under the engineer's estimate at the time. So there was some savings in terms of the overall cost with the award of the contract. Throughout the course of the project, we've experienced some unforeseen issues, some of them identified in your board packet and the board letter there, primarily a delay from PG&E relocation that was pushed back from what we anticipated it being based on our understanding. So that's led to a lot of different things that we've had to adjust with the contractor. And of course, it's minimized their productivity. Some of the other things are specific to soil conditions out there that we've experienced, which are proving to be quite challenging, requiring quite a bit of cost related to stabilizing that subgrade so that we don't have a road that fails sooner rather than far later. And so basically this change order, this amendment is what we're seeking is to amend the contract. When the contract was awarded, we were authorized for 10% contingency of the award amount. Unfortunately, we are quickly approaching that maximum with all of these things that have come up, and so we're here to request an amendment and authorize additional contingency needed to complete the project. So I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Look to my colleagues for any comments, questions they may have.
Yes, Chair. So what happens, or I should say, what is the subrogation responsibility when we're looking at trying to claw money back from PG&E, since, you know, their poles are the ones that were in the way. They're the reason that caused this delay and the majority of this cost overrun. Since they were off by a half a year on removing their poles, that we had to do all this diversion around, and which caused a lot of these expenses. What's our ability to recover some of these funds?
So I could tell you that we certainly are going to pursue that. There's been a lot of, conversation with them as this was developing. But as you can imagine, our focus was just trying to get the work done so that we can move forward. But we are definitely, logging or accounting for all these costs. We still actually have some costs coming from the contractor related to that delay that we're not fully aware of at this point. We were waiting for the delay to cease so that they could return to work, and then now they're kind of calculating what those costs look like. I could tell you I've never actually been successful in recovering delay costs from a utility company. It's a fairly complicated process from what I know. Potentially involves legal action. I don't know that has to go there, but we have had projects before up in Oakhurst where we had actually a much longer delay than this. So we are accounting for that, and we hope to seek some reimbursement from that to help cover those costs. But we don't actually know all those at this point.
Yeah, because PG&E is like a government agency, but with less accountability. I mean, they're awful when it comes to things like that. And from your experience, we've never been successful in recovering funds from a utility company?
I have not been successful in that. I'm not going to say that hasn't happened with other agencies. Again, I can dig into that with some, colleagues of other agencies to see if they've had success in that and how they approach it. But yeah, it's a challenge.
And the way I see it is we have an entity, a utility company, who told us for months and months and months that they were going to be on track with removing these poles. They weren't. Months and months and months go by. The contractor has to do all kinds of rework, all kinds of workarounds to try to get the road completed despite these poles being right in the middle. And we're now going to be taking another $1 million of our taxpayers' money due to their lack of foresight, inaction. I don't know exactly what it was, but I have no problem putting PG&E on blast if they want to abuse our taxpayers. This is what it is. This is abusing our taxpayers if they don't want to step up and provide some sort of reimbursement. So that's my thought.
Thank you for those comments. Supervisor?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jordan, in regards to that. And I would say, perhaps we could elevate it in terms of having a staff/board approach, and as far as outreach, setting up a meeting, with PG&E, and maybe having an ad hoc committee to discuss those things. Because if we're talking small dollars, 4 or 5 figures, that's still more. But when you get to 7 figures like that, that's really beyond. So I would suggest if it makes sense, and through some of your research with some of the other counties, and maybe reaching out to Yoder or somebody to see if that would be the right approach. Because the more you know, the more we're the squeaky wheel and the more we elevate it and so forth, I think it's important to do that. And the more attention we're going to get from PG&E, you got to be the loud one. So, all right, thank you.
Appreciate that sentiment. Just a couple of questions I had. One, you had mentioned the original bid estimate. What was that?
Yes, Supervisor, I believe the original engineer's estimate was just around 30 million.
Okay.
Is what we had put it out when we put it out for advertising.
Okay, thank you for that. And then, you know, when I review the backup, I also saw, you know, there were some other drivers for the overages. I think two of them specifically was a bus stop and a driveway. Are those requirements that the county build those, or can you speak to those?
Sure, yeah, so I'll start with the bus stop. That was something that was originally anticipated or believed to potentially happen with development on the north side of 12 as that came along. However, with the way that the bus operates, you know, it goes in both directions, we want to be able to pick up on both sides of the road. So a decision was made to move forward with putting that other bus stop on the north side now, as opposed to waiting for the future development to come along and have that installed. In terms of the driveway, you know, the initial design didn't necessarily include that driveway, although there were some discussions about it. Ultimately, it is a limited expressway, and so typically we don't have driveways on limited expressways, but in this particular circumstance, because of the orientation of that commercial property, it was determined that that was needed, and so that was added into the project to accommodate that commercial development on the south side.
Okay, but neither of those items are required by the county to complete those?
The driveway is not a requirement of that. It's an accommodation to the development. And again, there's a lot of development happening out there, right? So we're trying to, as we always try to do, is accommodate and make sure we're kind of looking into the future as best we can. And in terms of the bus stop, again, essentially it is a requirement because we need to have that stop in both directions. And so that's where we moved forward with that.
Okay. And then, so I know, you know, these costs are all going to be covered through developer fees, but I mean, from my perspective, typically when we talk about a driveway, that's not something that we would pay for through developer fees. So is there a mechanism to repay the county for that work?
So we can certainly speak with developer to talk about that. Usually, if there is a permitted driveway approach at the time of our construction or our design, we would accommodate that. I don't know that this was necessarily a permitted driveway at that point. But again, looking at the configuration, it was determined that that would probably need to be an access point there. And so that was what was moved forward. You know, developer fees are paying for this. So in essence, developers are paying for it. But, you know, we could probably explore that option and talk to the specific property owner and see what we can do.
Okay. I, for one, would be in favor of that. I don't know how my colleagues would feel about pushing this item off till a later date, so those discussions could take place, but would be my preference personally. So, any additional comments, questions from my colleagues?
What exactly are you wanting to push off? Like
I'd like to see if we could have some conversations with the developer about, you know, the development paying for a driveway and a bus stop, as opposed to, you know, being paid for through developer fees. You know, those are substantial costs. Again, I don't feel they would normally be borne in this way, and so I think it would be worth a conversation with the developer to see if we can be reimbursed for those costs.
I would like to hear from Matt. Matt, do you have any comments on this particular topic?
Sure. Thank you, supervisors. I think for some clarity for the public and the board, you know, this project is not just being funded from developer impact fees. That is it, but the development out there is cash flowing and have deposited $8.5 million for the construction of this, and they're required to fund upfront and be reimbursed on the back end. My belief and understanding, and we can certainly confirm that, is that driveway that is discussed right now on the driveway was approved and is a part of the specific plan that was adopted and approved for the development. I certainly have no issues with seeking the direction, and we can approach the development out there about that, but we did acquire right-of-way. I don't, off the top of my head, know whether this was a condition or a requirement of that right-of-way, which is fairly typical, where you have approved driveway locations and we're acquiring right-of-way in order to build this facility that the property owner would request the construction of a driveway out there. So, you know, I guess my thought would be we can seek the board direction to, you know, talk with that, but I don't know that we necessarily should hit pause on this thing. I mean, it is funded by the development. I don't want to see a scenario, and I'm looking to Jared now, that we have to see further delays and further construction cost increases for something that's a relatively minor cost as far as a driveway and the bus stop, which transit would typically fund, and we funded transit increase, you know, bus stops out there. And again, the development is funding all of it. That community, the transit stop, that's all being funded through the developments that's occurring out there. And in this instance, similar to Rio Mesa, the developer is actually fronting all of these costs at no, you know, cost to us. So we have interest that we are remaining and collecting on the funds that are kept whole. They have not received any payment back, nor are they due any payment back on the deposit money that they've submitted to date already. So I don't know if that helps. But.
Do you know what the cost for the driveway and the bus stop are? I mean,
Yeah,
and I think from my perspective, you know, we look at impact fees, road impact fees in particular, and there's a long list of projects we would like to get done with road impact fees. And so, you know, my concern is, you know, if we're funding things that we don't necessarily have to fund, then, you know, that makes our ability to fund, you know, projects like 9 later down the road just that much more difficult, so.
Yeah, Supervisor, so based on what I have for our records, it looks like the driveway cost was around $370,000 to install that. I'll have to double check and see what all that includes. And to CAO Trevor's point, it is possible that that was somehow factored into the right-of-way acquisition. I don't know that off the top of my head either, so we can check that too to see maybe if that was, you know, a concession or a part of the compensation for the right-of-way acquisition.
Okay.
And Chairman,
Go ahead.
you know, and I completely respect your thoughts on making sure that you know, we're being good stewards of the impact fees and making sure that they go towards the right thing. A lot of these development agreements are very convoluted and very complicated, and there's a lot of give and take on multiple areas when we're trying to get this deal done. So when you know, the first thought I had was, do we believe that this actually slipped past the developer, or was this factored in when it came to right-of-way acquisition costs or other concessions along the way? I highly doubt it. And there's just so many moving parts with these types of things that I personally would like to move forward. But I completely respect your concern regarding making sure that we're being good stewards of that. But, you know, in terms of delay and also understanding that I don't think it was an actual oversight, I think it was probably factored in, I would like to move forward.
Sure, yeah, and I wouldn't want to, you know, see further delay costs as a result of, you know, delaying this vote. So I think there is So I'm curious if there is, some wiggle room to have a conversation over a week or two period to see if that's, something we can get some more information around. As I said, are we required to build this driveway? But those are my thoughts. Obviously, I'm one of 4 today. So unless there's any additional comments, thoughts from my colleagues, we will look to the public for any public comment they may have. Any in the room or online?
None online.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
I move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Wilmhoff.
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras.
Aye.
Chair McCauley.
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item 8D.
Public Works Department Administrative Services Division, discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue 25-146 in the amount of $1.4 million derived from Measure T RMA Roads Fund balance to operating transfers out for fiscal year 2025-2026. 4 votes are required.
Welcome back.
Good morning again, Chair, members of the board. Jared Carter, Director of Public Works. So this item is somewhat of a cleanup item. If you recall back on June 2nd, we had a couple of budget adjustments similar to this for our Measure T program. And essentially this spurs from a change in the way that the auditor controllers asked us to budget these funds and creating specific budget accounts versus our annual expenditure plan, which we've historically approved and been able to cover expenses through that process. And so this is just the shift of that money to cover those expenses that we had from the 25-26. Primarily, this is money that's in the local road program, sub-program of Measure T, which we did not do on the 2nd. And this will cover just basic road maintenance expenses, patching material, crew work, things like that, brushing and stuff like that. So I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Jared. Any comments, questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, we'll look to the public for any public comment they may have.
None online.
All right, let's bring it back to the board.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Poitras.
Aye.
Supervisor Wilmhoff.
Aye.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Chair McCauley.
Yes,
Vote passes 4-0.
thank you. Let's go to item 8E, please.
Treasurer Tax Collector Department, just introduction of an ordinance amending Madera County Code Section 3.46.050 to update the fee schedule associated with services provided by the Office of the Treasurer Tax Collector. Waive the first reading and set the second reading for August 18, 2026.
Good morning.
Good morning. Jacqueline Torres Herrera, your Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector, bringing some revised fees and new fees for services provided or completed by the Treasurer Tax Collector Office and requesting to waive the first reading and second reading for the 18th of August.
Okay. Any questions from my colleagues? Any public comment?
None online.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras.
Aye.
Supervisor Wilmhoff.
Aye.
Chair McCauley.
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Let's go to item 8F.
Board of Directors, Special District, Maintenance District 10, Madera Ranchos Maintenance District 13, Lake Madera County Estates, Public Works Department, Engineering Services Division, Surface Treatment Overlay Maintenance District Number 10 and Maintenance District Number 13. Discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with Cal Valley Construction, Inc. in the amount of $2,369,810.65 for construction for fiscal year 2025-2026, Surface Treatment Overlay MD 10, Madera Ranchos, and MD 13, Lake Madera County Estates projects, and authorize the chair to sign. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Director of Public Works or his designee to issue a notice to proceed in accordance with the provisions of the contract. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Auditor Controller to issue payments for contingencies up to 10% of the contract award amount per established policy. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Director of Public Works or his designee to solely issue and approve contract change orders in accordance with Public Contract Code, not to exceed authorized contingencies.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Chair, members of the board. Jared Carter, Director of Public Works. So this item before you is an award of a contract to Cal Valley for some improvements to some roadways in Maintenance District 10, which is Madera Ranchos area, and also Maintenance District 13, which is north of Madera and Madera Lakes. The project will include about 8.2 miles of improvements in MD10 and also about 1.3 miles of road improvements in MD13. Primarily, the pavement condition index in MD10A, currently the average pavement condition index is about 70.6. So with these improvements, we expect that it will take it up to about a 75.8. And that is over the 80 miles of roadway in MD10. And in MD13, they have a few less miles, and their average PCI is about the same, 70.9, and would increase to about 75.3 with these treatments. In some of the locations at MD10, I just wanted to point out that they do have fairly decent existing PCIs. However, these are routes that we had planned to do once the distribution system improvements were made, which we've completed phase 1. So now we're essentially dropping back and taking care of those roads that have trench cuts and things on them from that work. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Jared. Any comments, questions from my colleagues?
Thank you for adding Rosemead. Sorry. I know that I responded and you guys had already added it on there to the email, but yeah, it's like Afghanistan on that road. Looks like a third world country, so thank you.
So it's a PCI of 10 in that stretch, huh?
Well, actually on the report it says 0.
Oh,
so.
0, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty low. So my question is, in regards to the funding, 2.3, 2.4 million, if we did not have Measure T, would we be able to move forward with this overlay project, or what would we have to cut back on, or what would the circumstances be?
Sure, great question, Supervisor. So while we aren't actually using Measure T on this work, this is pre-Prop 13 revenues from the properties within these districts, and so it is collected from them and applied to their roads. Okay. However, I would say that these roads are in the county maintained mileage system. So we could potentially use gas tax and Measure T on these roads if we didn't have other priorities. As you know, we've focused our priorities on arterials and collectors. Mm-hmm. And so by them having this funding to do this, it does free up Measure T and other gas tax funds to go towards other areas, which, as you know, we're slowly making progress on arterials and collectors throughout the county, and trying to improve those as we move forward. So, it all does play together in some sense, even though you don't see Measure T dollars specifically on these roads.
Gotcha. Good, thank you.
Excellent. Any additional comments, questions?
This does bring up another point, when it comes to funding buckets, because those that have chosen to create maintenance districts, how often are we using gas tax money or other funding sources outside of the maintenance district funds for road improvements in those areas?
Not very often, I can tell you that. Again, the priorities that have been set is to focus on arterials and collectors where we see the most traffic and the most people using those roads. When you get into districts where you're into neighborhoods and subdivisions and things like that, those are not the highest priority. And so having ability through a maintenance district assessment, or in this case, they have a pre-Prop 13, so it's their portion of their property tax that pays into road maintenance. But having those sources, we can focus on those local and neighborhood roads with those monies, whereas we wouldn't, again, necessarily get to those as a priority.
No, I get it. For me, it's if we create a maintenance district, whatever funds that we were getting from gas tax to maintain the roads, to whatever extent they are, goes away. And now the residents there are fully footing the bill. for road maintenance.
Yep, in most
In addition
cases,
to the
yes.
gas tax, right?
Correct, yeah. And as Supervisor Poitras pointed out, we do take Measure T at times when we can, and when it's appropriate, we can take a sub-program of Measure T specific for maintenance districts to help match some of those funds.
And not all maintenance districts are created the same, like Rolling Hills versus MD10, right? Says they say they pay a ton of property taxes and they deserve better roads, but then we look at their maintenance district funds and they barely have any money to maintain, all their roads in there. And then the discussion comes up, well, the county doesn't care about Rolling Hills, and that's not exactly the case. Can you just go into the funding sources? And another one is Madera Acres. There's a critically underfunded maintenance district, I would say. And, we get deemed as the bad guy, basically saying that we only care about, the newer neighborhoods and other areas that have fully funded maintenance districts.
Yeah, so I'll see if I can cover this.
Am I getting
fairly
off topic?
simplistic.
I'm sorry.
I was going to go there if you didn't go there, so I mean, here we are, so.
Yeah, so I'll try to do my best to walk through this. So, we have roughly 1,500 miles of maintained mileage that the county is responsible for maintaining, and that's what our gas tax money goes towards, and doesn't always include all areas in the county, right? MD 21, Madera Acres, MD 10. These have roads what we consider in our maintained mileage system. However, again, they're not priorities because they are local roads, and we have the minimal gas tax money that we get, which is not nearly enough. I think you guys have all seen our payment reports in the past showing how much of a shortfall, but it's substantial. And so, maintenance districts are a avenue to do that. And yes, the economies of scale in certain districts definitely plays into that. When you have far more properties contributing into it, that revenue is much more effective and can happen sooner. In a maintenance district where you have an actual assessment specific for roads that you're collecting each year, that money is specifically set aside. Pre-Prop 13 districts and their property tax, only a small portion of that property tax goes to road maintenance. It goes to other things, right? So in the case of like Rolling Hills, that's a situation where the money that they generate from the property tax, there are a lot of other things that have to be paid for, although they are in a little bit better shape now in Rolling Hills because of not having a water system they have to maintain. But it takes time to build that up, and things aren't getting cheaper. That's the other factor that has to be considered, is that it's more expensive the farther along we go. So, trying to balance all of that out is quite the challenge. And, obviously you all know about the gas tax and where that's headed, right? That is going off a cliff essentially in terms of revenue. So we're going to see a huge decrease in those funding and figure out how we can make up for that through the measure, through other means, and hopefully some other mechanism to collect revenues from those that use the roads and drive the roads. So I don't know if that answered your question, but.
Yeah, and I think what Supervisor is speaking to is that, folks that live in residential neighborhoods should be responsible for their own roads. So, when I first got elected, some neighbors of my folks reached out to me and they said, so now that you're elected, you're going to repave 425A, right? And I said, well, maybe if we punched it up to 628 and it was a through road, we might think about that, but it's, a residential road. And so, if you want that road repaved, it'd be my suggestion you work with your neighbors on forming a maintenance district so you can fund it. It's not the answer that people want to hear, but, it is the reality that we live in. Folks in the ranchos don't want to pay for somebody's neighborhood road in Indian Springs, vice versa, right? And so, it's behooving for folks to take that initiative, save some money up in their maintenance district, and ensure that they can maintain their roads. And this is a good example of it. You know, the best roads we have in Madera County are often, you know, those roads within the maintenance district. So any additional comments, questions from my colleagues?
I just have a question on completion timeframe for MD10.
You know, that's a good question. I do not
It is a
have the
good question.
schedule for that
That's why
one.
I asked it.
But I know that the contractor is ready to start. I do know that. They're ready to go like now. So I would imagine it's probably going to be a matter of a couple months.
This paving season though, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I'm sure we need to beat the weather for sure. So it's definitely going to happen quick. And hopefully everybody can be understanding and the inconvenience of it. Obviously, it always gets worse before it gets better, but I think that, yeah, overall, it'll be a good product once it's finished out there.
Appreciate all your work you're doing, Jared. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Director of Public Works. This time, I'm going to look to the public for any public comment they may have in the room or online.
None online.
All right, let's bring it back to the board for action.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Director Wamhoff.
Aye.
Director Rogers.
Yes.
Director Poitras.
Aye.
Chair McCauley.
Yes,
Vote passes 4-0.
thank you. Let's go to item 8G, please.
Board of Directors, Special Districts, Maintenance District Number 19A, Parkwood, Public Works Department, Administrative Services Division, discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue number 25-149 in the amount of $3 million derived from MD 19A Improvement Fund State Water Grant to Building and Improvements for fiscal year 2025-2026. 4 votes are required.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Jared Carter, Director of Public Works. So this is an item for another financial move or transaction for one of our improvement projects in Parkwood, Maintenance District 19. As most of you are aware, we are well underway with a project there to put a new well in and make some improvements for that water system in conjunction with the ultimate consolidation with the city of Madera. This project is quite far along in construction. I think we anticipate a few more months in having this done before the end of the year. I know the well is drilled now, and they're working all the equipping to equip that well. So this is a item to essentially put the $3 million in the grant anticipation note, which comes through the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office to help us cash flow projects, and then reimburse through the grant that the district was awarded through the state. So I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Jared. Another great example of county staff making best use of our tax dollars. So I'll look to my colleagues for any comments, questions they might have.
I just really appreciate that we're getting Parkwood in tip-top shape for the city to annex. It'd be an offer they can't refuse.
Thank you for that. Let's look to the public for any public comment they may have in the room or online.
None online.
All right, let's bring it back to the board for action, please.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff.
Aye.
Director Poitras.
Aye.
Director Rogers.
Yes.
Chair McCauley.
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
Excellent. Thank you, Jared. All right, before we move back to closed sessions, we have no pending legislation, but let's look for supervisor and staff reports. We'll start with Supervisor Rogers to my right.
Yes, I attended the Regional Health Authority since our last meeting, and then there was a special meeting which Jordan Wamhoff covered for me, Supervisor Wamhoff, and that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Excellent. Supervisor Wamhoff?
Yeah, I attended the RHA special meeting last week, and this morning had the ribbon cutting for Canyon Creek Elementary in Riverstone, brand-new elementary school that will be opening for the first time for this fall school year. And obviously, we had this meeting, so I couldn't attend, but Micah went and presented a certificate and told all the great things about what's happening in District 1, right? All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Excellent. Supervisor Poitras?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 24th of July, I had the opportunity to represent the Highway 99 Finish the 99 Coalition at the ribbon cutting of the Tulare Agra Center International Interchange ribbon cutting. It was about an $80 million project, and it's part of the Finish the 99 project system. They have another project occurring between roughly Delano and Pixley to six-lane that portion, and of course, we will be breaking ground on our Finish the 99 section from Avenue 12 to Avenue 7. The groundbreaking is scheduled for this February. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Karen?
Nothing to report, thank you.
No report. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. CAO?
I guess no report, but I just want to say thanks to Joel for holding down the fort last week, so.
Great job, Joel. And I would like to report that yesterday we had a phenomenal meeting with our CAL FIRE unit chiefs from the MMU as well as the Fresno unit and the Tulare unit. We also had some representatives from Sacramento come and join us to talk about long-term strategic planning, some new tools that CAL FIRE is rolling out, and how counties and local partners can take advantage of some of these tools, which will inevitably help lower risk and lower, hopefully, insurance premiums, as Chief Pendarvis had talked about earlier today. So great meeting, looking forward to more to come. With that, we will retire back into closed session.
Recording stopped.